Hi, I'm Ranger Erin, and today we're asking the question of why do beavers build their dams? So if you've ever been out walking along Floyd's Fork, you've probably noticed plenty of signs of beaver. So some things that you might notice out here: chewed tree stumps with that 45-degree angle that you know that that's some large rodent teeth. You'll see some of those beaver sticks where they've eaten off all of that delicious bark. That's their food. Or maybe you'll notice some tracks in the mud showing those large feet with that webbing in between the toes. Floyd's Fork has great habitat for beavers, and many families of beavers do call Floyd's Fork home, claiming their own section of the creek as their territory. But one thing that's pretty unusual to see out here are beaver dams. So we're going to start to think about why we don't see beaver dams in this creek. One thing that we know about Floyd's Fork is that we have 10 to 15 big floods every single year. And that means that if a beaver were to make a dam across the creek, they would have to rebuild their dam 10 to 15 times every single year. And that's going to be a lot of work. So that beaver will have to decide if it's worth it. Beavers feel safest in slow, deep water because they're great swimmers, so they want to have plenty of room to swim and to dive down deep. So if the water is high enough, that's no problem for them. Maybe they would want it to be a little bit slower, but probably isn't worth it to build that dam. However, if the water gets super low, if you build that dam, it's going to slow down the water. You're going to have a deeper, stiller pool, and then our beaver's going to be a little bit more happy. We've had 2 known instances of beavers building dams out here on Floyd's Fork since this park has been opened. One of those times was just last year. And let's take a nice close look at the construction of that beaver dam. It may not look like it, but this dam is holding back a lot of water. So if you were to walk through that still water, it would be about knee-high or even waist-high in different places. While we're looking at this dam, look at the way it's been constructed and all the materials that have been used. A beaver will use whatever they have in their environment, and that can include all sorts of materials. This beaver chose to use a lot of its old, used-up food in the form of sticks that have been stripped of all of their bark. There's also a number of rocks that are holding it all in place, as well as some mud and vegetation woven throughout it. What both of these years had in common is that the water got super low in summer. So then it did become worth it for those beavers to build that dam, slow down that water, make a nice, deeper, still pool so that they could feel safe to swim in. So if that water is super low, it does become worth it, even though that dam is definitely going to get washed away sometime with those fall rains. But for those summer months, building that dam is worth it. For your hike, you are going to be on the lookout for some of those signs of beavers that we talked about, maybe some tree stumps with that 45-degree angle. Maybe you're going to see some chewed on beaver sticks that are going to have all of that bark stripped off. Maybe you're going to see some of those tracks, or you might just notice a great spot for a dam, someplace that the water's starting to get a little bit low, and then that's going to be our activity. So you're going to work on your skills for making that beaver dam. So think about what we saw with that real beaver dam, how they kind of arced it to allow the flow of water to come around the sides of it. Think about how they had some of those sticks that were coming perpendicular to buttress or kind of reinforce that dam. And think about the materials that you have available to you. So lots of rocks for sure. We always have lots of rocks out here. But then also think about things like mud to fill in the cracks. Think about vegetation to kind of weave it all together. And definitely think about those sticks to kind of reinforce it. Thanks for joining me. I'll catch you all next time.